Okay, need to make sure that you all have the answers to this one that we did together. So if there's any that you're not sure about, I know you didn't get through, David. Well, you may have, but I hadn't checked yours, I don't think yet. But you can check it with Jesse. And then also I want to go over this a little bit. Most of you have finished, but others are not quite through. But write these out in words. So 3 is an element of set A. 4 is not an element of set C. The set of all x such that x is equal to 2. Are these infinite or finite? 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on is infinite. There's no end to the numbers. This one was very tricky. A, B, C, but the alphabet has an end at Z, so it's finite on that one. This one, 1, 2, 3, up to 12, it's also finite. Are these sets equal or equivalent? Equal, exactly the same. Equivalent, same number. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2. Yes, they are equal. They're the same. Yes, they're equivalent. Same number. X, Y, Z and A, B, C. No, they're not equal. They have different members in them. Yes, they are equivalent because this one has 3 and this one has 3. Okay, 1, 3, 5, 7 up to 15. Is 8 an element of A? No, because it's an even number and these are odd. Is 9 a subset of set A? Yes, you could take 9 out, and it's part of it. Is 25 an element of A? No, because it ends at 15. Answer correctly. A intersecting with B. All right, they both have a 3 and they both have a 7. So it's a set whose members are 3 and 7. The union is all of them, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. And we don't list the ones twice. Okay, if C is 2, 4, 5, intersect A and this. All right, they have a 2 and they have a 5, both of them. C is 2, 4, 5 again, intersect it with B with C. So there's no 2, okay, there's no 5, okay, there's nothing. Okay, so it's a null set. Okay, this one, okay, you have A, B, and C up here. A intersecting with B just is a 2. And then you take that 2 and intersect it with C. So it's 2. So you get the answer to what's in the parentheses, and then you intersect it with the other one. This is kind of hard to see. All right, so A union B is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I kind of jotted that down. Then I intersected that with C. So I had a 2 and I had a 7. So that's your final answer, is a set whose members are 2 and 7. Now the Venn diagrams, you need to draw them, A, B, and C, okay, and put your numbers in there. That's the hardest part, is figuring out where the numbers go. Okay, A intersects with B in this part right in here. But then you intersect that with C, and so the only place they have in common is that little part right in the middle. So it's a 6 that went in there. So your answer is 6. This one, A intersects with B, right in there. Union it, or unite it, with C. So it's all of those numbers right there. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This one, A union B, you add those two together, and then you unite that with C. So it's everything all shaded in, so it's all the numbers. Okay. Now, if you need to see this closer, I'll just hand it to you, where you can look at it again. Okay. Now, all right, like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll let you take these with you or whatever if you didn't get finished. All right, the next thing we're going to do is take some notes on Chapter 3. Okay, Chapter 3, okay, it is dealing with logic. This also will be done mostly with worksheets instead of books. Okay, we kind of go back and forth. Okay, but Chapter 3 is on logic. Okay. Well, first, of course, we need a definition of logic, the science and thinking of reasoning correctly. The science of thinking and reasoning correctly. Okay, now, anytime that you want to know more about something, go back and read the book, on a particular part of it. But sometimes it's overwhelming, the amount of material in there. Okay, now, have any of you ever heard of M.C. Escher? E-S-C-H-E-R. Okay, if you have not heard of him, look him up and just write a paragraph, or show me a picture of what he did, and I'll give you some extra credit.
Is that
on that. E-S-C-H-E-R. M.C. Escher. Okay, so I won't tell you what it is, but if you look at his, well, I can't tell you without telling you who he is. Anyway, but if you want some extra credit, look him up and tell me something about him. Okay, there are some statements that are made that are a paradox, and they cannot exist at all. Okay? Okay. A paradox is something that cannot exist. It looks like it does, but it doesn't. Next, we have a simple statement. As always in these, we have a lot of different terms we have to get out of the way before
we can zoom in just a tad? I'm sorry.
What?
On the screen it's kind of small. It's hard for me to read that.
Okay. Now, the paradox is something that cannot exist. A simple statement is a complete sentence that conveys one thought with no connecting words. No connecting words. That means there's not an and or a but or an or anything like that in it. It's simple. I am going to town.
One subject, one word.
Mm-hmm. And so it's simple means simple. Okay. So it's a complete sentence that conveys one thought with no connecting words. Okay. Now, here's some examples. 5 is a counting number. Okay. Today is Tuesday. Okay. A compound sentence, of course, means it uses connectives like and, or, if then, if and only if not. Okay. So those are compound if they have connecting words in there. Okay. And, or, if then, if and only if not.
Still express one thought or more in compound sense. So express more than one thought then, right?
Yeah, more than one. Okay, now here's an example of a compound sentence. Bonnie was late, but Clyde was early. Bonnie was late, but Clyde was early. Our connecting word here is but. And that wasn't even listed as one of them up there. But it is. It's a connector. Okay, here's another one. You don't have to write all these down, but just get you one. Okay. I will pass math, or I will be sad. Okay. If you do not do your homework, then you, if you do your homework, then you will pass. And that is directly from me. Okay. If you do not do your homework, you will not pass. Okay. Now, so those are connectors. But, or, if you do your homework, then you will pass. If, then, those are connectors. Okay, now, we have a special type of statement called a conditional statement. It is an if-then statement. It has an if-then in it. If it rains, then we will go. Okay. Has an if-then. Here's an example, another one. If Knoxville is in Tennessee, then Florence is in Alabama. Okay. If Knoxville is in Tennessee, then Florence is in Alabama. Okay, that is an if-then statement called a conditional. The first part, the if part, is called the hypothesis. The then part is called the conclusion. If you took geometry, then you remember hypothesis and conclusion. But it's the if part that's the hypothesis, and the then is the conclusion.
There's like actually a symbol in logic for it. If statements and hypothetical syllogisms.
Okay, another word for hypothesis is antecedent, and the conclusion is consequent. Okay, so you might want to write those down in case I ask you, what is another word for hypothesis? Okay, that's antecedent, and the conclusion is consequent.
How do you spell it?
Okay, antecedent, A-N-T-E-C-E-D-E-N-T, antecedent. Consequent, C-O-N-S-E-Q-U-E-N-T, consequent. It's like consequences, you know. Okay, so the if is the hypothesis or the antecedent. The then part is the conclusion or the consequent. That's easy to remember. The A is the if part, the C is the then part. Okay, that. Okay. Now, let's see. Which one I want?
A double B English teacher.
Okay, right. Yeah, logic. Okay, here's another example. If someone was late, it was Benny. Sometimes they don't put the then in the sentence. Okay. If someone was late, it was Benny. But if you can put it in, then you know it's an if-then sentence or a conditional. If someone was late, then it was Benny. The hypothesis is someone was late. The conclusion is it was Benny. Okay. Now, so in this particular one, we just put in a then in there. I'm sorry. When I get it up where it's big enough, you know, to see, then I forget that it's up there. So sometimes the if then is implied. Another time, you can use when to stand for an if. We will go when it quits raining, you know. Okay. Now, I will go when it quits raining. Okay, so in this particular case, the if is over here. Okay, that's the condition. Okay, if it quits raining, then we're going to go. So this is the hypothesis in this one, and this is the conclusion. So you have to be careful on some of them where it is. Now we have a symbol that stands for the if and a symbol that stands for the then. The P is the if, the Q is the then. Now they're going to take a big long sentence and they're going to shorten it and make symbols out of it. Okay, and you have to keep this stuff close where you can, you know, memorize it. The if part, of course, is the hypothesis. The then part is the conclusion. Okay. Now, if Sue likes golf, then sound like swimming. There's your example. If Sue likes golf, then sound like swimming. Okay, the hypothesis is Sue likes golf. The conclusion is sound like swimming. Now, if I want to use P and Q for these and make my sentence, I would put a P here, I would put a Q there, and I would put an arrow, which stands for if then. So the little arrow stands for if then. Now, if I have a sentence that has an and in it, we use this symbol, which is called a caret, and it is a conjunction. Okay, all right, and it's like a, you know, it's like this. That's easy to remember because the and goes that direction. Okay, and it is called a conjunction. Now you're going to have a million terms thrown at you here in a few minutes. Okay, and so, but if you have your notes handy, that will help you. Now here's a sentence we're going to write down. Today is Monday. Q, I am tired. Remember, the P is the if, the Q is the then. Okay, we're going to write the P and Q. So I'm going to put today is Monday. What's that stand for? And I am tired. Okay. So that would be your sentence. Today is Monday, and I am tired. Okay? And you may have to go back and watch this again to get it. Okay, we have another one called an or. And it is a V. Okay? So the and is this way, the or is this way, and it is called a disjunction. Okay. If I have this means P or Q.
Wouldn't that be kind of a hypothesis then?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll show you. Today is Monday, or I am tired. This is my P. Today is Monday. We're using these up here. Or I am tired. We're going to take this and write it this way. We're going to take this and then write it that way. We're going to be going back and forth till you get used to P standing for one part, Q standing for the other. This is for or, that's for and, so forth and so on. Then, of course, we have another thing, a not, okay, which is a negation, okay? And it is one little squiggly line like that. Now, here is a sentence. I am going. If I want to negate it, I will say I am not going. Okay? If I have a not in the sentence, how would I negate it? How would I negate that right there? I am not going. What would I say now?
Well, if you put two nots, it's gonna be a double negative.
Right. So it makes it positive. So it would be I am going. Okay. So this would be written this way. P stands for I am going, and then Q, P not Q. That means I'm going to put a not in that sentence. I am not going. Okay. Now this is, like I said, it's a whole lot of little things that you got to learn.
Most of this, I'm ahead here because most of this is right along with the logic class.
I already had this, right. That's good. Okay, now we have, I think it's one more, and then we'll start trying to use it. Okay, we have something called a biconditional. What does bi mean? Two. All right, so if and only if. So the bi is it's got two ifs in it. Okay. A biconditional is if and only if. Okay. The symbol for it is an arrow on both ends. See, that's got biconditional. P and then if and only if Q. Now, if it is Monday, if and only if I am tired. So here was our P, here was our Q. If and only if means this little symbol right here.
Does that mean that they're contingent upon each other? That P, like in other words, P is only there if Q is there and Q is only there?
Yes, right. And you can write these backwards. It is Monday if and only if I am tired. I am tired if and only if it is Monday. Okay. So that's what a biconditional means. Okay, now let's look at some and see if we can figure them out. Okay. Now, if you want to just watch and write this down later, and watch it again, you can, or you can write it as we go. It doesn't matter. P stands for I am going to town. Q stands for I am going to the movies. Okay. Now, we're going to write this in several different ways. Okay. Now, on page 101, we have a little cheat sheet. Okay, so look on page 101. It has all the symbols up there. The not, the and, the or, the if, then, the if and only if, what they look like, conjunction, negation, conditional, biconditional. Okay, that is what you need in front of you so that you can keep up with this. Now, okay, what does that symbol mean? And. So if I write this out, I am going to town and I am going to the movies. Okay. Now, so I am going to town and I am going to the movies. Okay, that's kind of hard to see from there. The B part, P or Q. I am going to town or I'm going to the movies. Good. All right. This one, if, then. If I am going to town, then I am going to the movies. Okay? Next, we got this little symbol, this one, and this one, and that is that symbol. This is not P and Q.
I'm not going to the town, and I'm going to the. Oh wait, I'm not going to town, but I am going to the movies.
Right. I am not going to town, and I am going to the movies. Good.
So it wouldn't be but, it'd be and.
And.
What
mhm.
would the butt signify?
I don't even think we have any in
I'm
here,
sorry.
but probably, okay. Probably a not, or I don't know, or an and. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. All right, here we go. I am going to town, or I am not going to the movies. Okay? I am going to town, or I am not going to the movies. Okay? This one's a big whammy here. I am not going to town, or I am not going to the movies. Okay. So both of those were nots on there. Here's another one. I am not going to town, but then there's this, so that means I got to add a if I am not going to town, then I'm not going to the movies. Okay, so if I'm not going to town, then I am not going to the movies. Okay, now, so we're going to have a sheet that will help us figure out how to do these things. Okay, let's see what the next one is. Okay, this one we're going to do together. And this kind of looks at it a different way. Okay, let's see. Okay. All right, identify the following as simple, compound, or neither. That's the first thing you got to do. We got two questions: simple, compound, or neither. Then second, classify it as a negation, conjunction, disjunction, conditional, or biconditional. So have that chart on 101 handy so that you will be able to do this. Okay. Now, make sure I don't tell you something wrong. Okay. On that first one, 2 is a counting number. What about that? Simple. Okay, so first thing you write is simple. Second, if it's simple, this says classify each compound statement. If it's a simple, you don't have to do anything else on that one, right? Number 2, it is not the case that Scott has a new car. All right. It has a not in it, so it's a compound. So first we answer whether it's simple or compound. So it's compound because it has a not. Now, is it a negation, conjunction, disjunction, conditional, or biconditional?
Negation.
Negation, because it has a not. It doesn't have an if then, it doesn't have an or, and it doesn't have a not, and it doesn't, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so that one was compound, negation. Number 3, you may attend the conference if and only if you have paid the registration fee. It's got an if and only if, so that makes it a compound. Then, biconditional. Good. So 3 is compound, biconditional. Number 4, today is not a holiday.
Simple.
It has a not, so that makes it compound. Okay. And then since it does have a not, it is a negation. Okay. So compound, negation for number 4. Number 5. If Abby went swimming, then Julia went sailing. And it's got an if then, so it's compound. Conditional. Good. Compound and conditional. Where is your homework? It's neither. Okay.
No, it's neither?
Neither.
Oh, 'cause
It's not a statement.
Yeah.
Right, it's a question. Okay, good. Both Ruth and Florence are members of the band.
Compound?
Compound because it has
And
an and. If it has an and, which one of those is it?
Conjunction.
Conjunction. So compound and conjunction. Either Bill is here or he did not come to school. Compound, because it had an or.
Contingent?
Disjunction. And it's got one other thing in it. This one has three things. A not, so it's a negation also. So that one had three things. Now, the next part, we have to underline the hypothesis with one line and the conclusion with two lines and decide if it's true or false, if you can. Okay? So if it rains and the grass gets wet, which one is the hypothesis?
Rain.
It rains. One line under it rains, two lines under the grass gets wet. Okay? Do you think that's true or false?
True.
Okay, is there any way that the grass would not get wet if it rained?
If there's
Covered it with a tarp.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so
There's ways.
that one's false. Okay, because it could be under the eave of a house, or you could have a tarp over it or whatever. All you got to do is find one case that makes it false. If you live in Texas, then you are an American. Hypothesis, you live in Texas. Conclusion, you are an American. True or false?
False.
False. Okay. Hypothesis, n is even. Conclusion, n squared is even. Two lines under n squared is even. Okay. Okay, this one, 2 squared is 4, 4 squared 16, 8 squared 64. Okay, it looks like it's true. Okay, so we'll put, probably true. If two lines are perpendicular, then the two lines intersect. So one line under, two lines perpendicular, two lines under, then they intersect. Okay. Okay, think about that. Okay, they're perpendicular, that means they form 90-degree angles. So more than likely, that's true. Okay? If a triangle has a right angle, then it is a right triangle. Hypothesis. Conclusion, then it's a right triangle. Okay, so here's a right angle. It forms a right triangle. So, true. Basically. All birds can fly. Now, this is one that we have to make it a conditional. If an animal is a bird, then it can fly. So you have to make it a conditional by putting an if then in it. And then this is the hypothesis and that is the conclusion. And someone already said false. Okay. What would work for that?
Penguins.
Okay. Penguins, ostrich, all sorts of things. Okay. We will go skiing only if it snows. Which part is the hypothesis of this?
If it snows.
If it snows. This one is the hypothesis, this one is the conclusion. Okay. You would have to add a then right there, wouldn't you? If it snows, then we will go skiing. Okay. That one was tricky to catch you. All lawyers are college graduates.
Oh.
Okay. That one is if a person is a lawyer, then he or she is a college graduate. Okay. And
False.
more than likely, you're not going to get a law degree unless you've been to college,
You're in jail. Can I use your restroom, please?
Yes. All right, now, so that's all of that one. All right, next we have
I'm sorry,
Uh-huh.
more questions. Number 7, is it true or false?
7.
We will go,
Okay, if it snows, then we'll go to false.
yeah, false.
Okay, because you might decide to go do something else. Okay, and more than likely, number 8 is true. Okay. All right, next thing we're going to do are these kind, where you got to use that chart on 101, here is your P, today is Monday, here's your Q, yesterday was Sunday. You have to write it out in words, okay? Today is Monday,
And
and yesterday was Sunday. So you just write it out in words, okay? So all those are going to be like that. This one down here, make sure you have to do that part first. So that one's kind of hard to do. But you'll have to list it this way and then do that part. And this one, you underline the hypothesis once and the conclusion twice in case you can't read this. That's what it's saying. Okay. Then you will have to do this one. And I've wrote down a conditional, looks like this, negation, conjunction, disjunction, biconditional. And then you have to tell if it is which one of these things. Okay, and it can be more than one. Because on this one you got nots, and you also have an if-then. Okay, so it can be more than one thing over here. Most of them are. Then down here, you have to tell from the words whether it's a conditional disjunction, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then down at the bottom, you write these with symbols, P's and Q's. Okay, does that make sense? I hope. Okay. All right, and make sure we don't miss chapel.
Yeah. I got speaks up everywhere.
This will be all.
Trust me, they'll wait on you.
so we'll do a secret today?
I don't know. Okay, and this is all that we will do today.
All.
Mm-hmm.